Welcome to the FNO InsureTech podcast, a place where movers and shakers from all points within the insurance ecosystem gather and discuss all things InsureTech. We talk about how technology and innovation are affecting and driving change in the industry. Here are your hosts, Matt D. Fothery, Lee Boyd, and Rob Beller.
Hey, Podcast World, we're here with a special edition, news edition, FNO News.
FNO News.
With Lee Boyd.
And Rob Beller.
One of your correspondents today, and your other correspondent.
Rob.
Me.
Hi, Rob.
Me. You already introduced me.
Yeah. You know, we always say each other's last name. Do we have to? I think.
Do we?
Yeah, it's always Rob Beller and Lee, and I'm here with Lee Boyd today. Well, I don't know. Do we not? Maybe it's just Lee.
I don't know. If one new person listens to it every week, it's probably worth it.
I always say my first and last name because that's what my mom calls me, Lee Boyd. It's true.
Okay, I have a riddle for you. Tell me about a strategic partner out there in the world that exists where two animals got together to create a strategic partnership.
Well, I just so happen to know about this strategic partnership, and it all started with this little hippo and this little kangaroo, and they became really, really good friends. In today's episode, we'll get to talk about that relationship.
Wow, there you have it. That's exactly right. We are here today to talk to Dhruv Garg, president of Kangaroo, the IoT for the home device company, security company, and Yuval Harry, chief revenue officer at Hippo. And they're going to talk with us about this terrific idea and strategic partnership that they've put together.
These are two companies that we know a lot about. I've had a couple of people from each of them on the podcast before, and it's great to see this relationship and this partnership come together. Hippo is really taking control of the smart home. They're really doing it very thoughtfully in how they're approaching the insured and how they're using the data. And I'm very excited about this. So yeah, why don't we jump on in and let them tell us what they're doing?
Okay, let's hear about what's going on at the zoo.
At the zoo.
It's a zoo out there, Lee. It's a zoo out there.
Mm-hmm. It's a wild, wild world.
Here's our interview with Kangaroo and Hippo. Welcome. It's great to have both your companies back on our podcast. We've covered a lot of territory with you guys in the past, but today we want to specifically talk about your strategic partnership that was recently announced and share that information and your thinking about it with our audience. But before we do that, because you're new to our podcast, Yuval, we just want to hear a minute about you. Tell us what you do at Hippo and why you're with us today.
Sure. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. So my role at Hippo is Chief Revenue Officer. So essentially, I'm responsible for the top line revenue for the company across a variety of different channels that we have. I joined the company 3 years ago. Mostly when I started, it was mostly about setting up our distribution partnerships. And so basically, we sell a lot of product. You've spoken with us before. We sell a lot of product direct to consumer. But we also sell a lot through partners. Most of them are in the home transaction space. So as you're aware, a lot of times people don't necessarily shop for homeowners insurance. What they're really buying is a home. And when they buy a home, there's a lot of people involved in the transaction. There's a real estate agent, there's a mortgage company, there's a builder, maybe if it's a new home. And we're engaged with a variety of these partners to offer insurance at the right point in time when they're actually trying to complete another transaction. And so most of my time at the company has been spent around distribution partnerships. I've also started our smart home program, which is most of what we're talking today. This is a topic that I'm super excited about and love talking about. So thanks for having me on this.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a whole lot in the past 3 years. You've had your hands in all sorts of strategic partnerships and announcements and building of the smart home. I mean, you've done a lot.
Appreciate it. I mean, it's obviously Hippo has been a fast-paced, place over the past 3 years, and we've managed to do a little bit. Still a lot of it is in front of us. We'll talk about it a little bit in the context of smart home. We're in the very early phases of that, but it's a decent start, I would like to think.
And Dhruv, before we get into the specifics of the partnership, talk to us for a minute about why being involved with a company like Hippo would be interesting to Kangaroo.
Again, thank you guys for having me. It's been fantastic working with Hippo. We've been fortunate enough to work with folks in the industry that typically moves a lot slower, but with Hippo, it's hard to keep up, hard to keep pace, and it's been exciting. It's also been amazing to go back and forth and be creative in how we are able to use what we're good at, what we want to build, smart home connected products, bring them to a mass market, which is what Kangaroo started with, which is what our vision was, and be able to work with partners that can help us go wide, get to a lot of homes, a lot of doors, a lot of people quicker. I think one of the strongest reasons why we love working with Hippo is we're getting in front of people that actually need it the most, that find the most value with these products, not only in terms of getting ahead of the problem, identifying what those issues are and potentially resolving them before they actually happen, but if something does happen, how can you find an extremely quick and frictionless way to make them whole again?
Yuval, I'll ask the same question of you. What drew you to working with Kangaroo?
Maybe I'll take one step back and then I'll take hopefully 2 steps forward.
Please.
What we're trying to do, and I think you've heard this from Hippo participants before, right? But what we're trying to do is today insurance is, we view it as a relatively transactional experience with a customer. You onboard on day 0, you have a renewal event, you have a billing event, maybe 9 years down the road, you have a claim. What we're obsessed about is how can we, in that 8-9 year time frame that you're a customer of ours, how can we, in addition to billing you and maybe God forbid helping you when there's a claim, how can we in that long period of time also add value, right? Also help you in certain touch points take care of your home. And so in that context, there's a variety of different initiatives that we have. One of the most important ones is around the smart home. We strongly think that there's an opportunity to connect the incentives, right, between the insurer and the homeowner, so that if they are investing in a smart home, or if they are provided with a smart home, that their insurance policy actually rewards them for it, whether it's in the form of a discount or whether it's in the form of we actually help them identify an issue before it became a big issue. That's kind of the one step backwards, right? So like we have a fundamental belief that there are ways to add values to customers, smart home being one of the important ones. In the area of smart home, look, eventually the goal, of course, is to help mitigate loss. But that is a long journey. It is a very hard thing to say, I'm going to solve for that from the get-go. So we decided to break it down to pieces, to smaller pieces. The first piece that we really wanted to prove was, hey, if I'm going to spend time, effort, and money sending out kits to people, I would like to make sure that people actually install them. So, we've spent a long period of time around optimizing the playbook of how to get people to actually install the devices that we're sending them. In that context, Kangaroo is a super, super strategic and strong partner for us because the products, entry-level products, are very achievable from a cost basis.
Right.
And they're also extremely simple to install. And so going down that path of how can we, both get those devices out there as well as get people to actually install them, Kangaroo is a very tech-forward company they've invested a lot of time in simplifying the installation process and in creating a great app for the users to basically make sure the install is happening. And so we've worked with them closely on those components. The other thing is, remember, a lot of these smart home companies are focused on security, right? And while security is an important aspect from an engagement standpoint, as an insurer, we care about it, but we care even more about water and fire events. And in that context, the products that Kangaroo has fits, what we're trying to achieve.
And I can attest to their ease of use because I have absolutely zero technical ability. And I installed a Kangaroo security system at my home where it works perfectly well today. And I enjoy having it and being a Kangaroo customer. So I am living proof that if I can do it, pretty much anyone can do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Dhruv, by the way, for helping to make that happen. I appreciate it. So in previous conversations that we've had with Hippo, we've learned that this idea that you have about being greater value added than just an insurance policy is, it's kind of an ongoing theme there, like what you did with your acquisition of Shelter. Does this fit in that same idea?
Absolutely. So the three areas we're focused on in terms of the value add at this point, I would say, is one, continuous underwriting. So how can we not just underwrite you on day zero, but have, make sure that you always have the right coverage? So if you added a swimming pool and we saw it from aerial imagery, do we reach out to you and offer you to increase your liability coverage, right? That is one area. The second area, and, Shelter fits into that, is the home services space. It's quite crazy, right? Because when you have a car, you have 200 sensors that tell you what's going on with a car, right? Like, so 20 years ago, the only thing it would tell you would be if you're going to run out of gas. But today, if your back tire pressure goes down, like, you know about it immediately. And when you need service, you know about it immediately. Your home is worth 20, 30 times your car, but your home doesn't tell you much about what's happening with it. And so the home services, right, is an opportunity for us to engage with customers to proactively, do preventative maintenance, things of that nature. Smart home is the third one, and it fits very nicely with the other two. In smart home specifically, historically, insurers have provided their customers with a discount. Typically, that's been more of a marketing related discount, right? So you install something, you send some proof to your insurance company. They have no idea whether it's actually functioning or not, but they give you some sort of discount. What we've done is basically connect the backends such that we can actually know if the devices are on or not. And so that seems like a small thing, but it's actually a very big thing because it connects directly with a policy management system. And we can apply the discounts in real time. We know if the customer is actually using it or not. And the level of discount, because it's part of the policy, is also larger. These are the three main components today. When you think about those value-added touch points, these are the three main components, and they all tend to work one with the other. So if you're going to a home and doing proactive maintenance, you might also check that the smart home is properly installed.
So I'm interested to know how the line connects between the three. I mean, it must all serve Hippo's goal or goals to do all these things. Is that where you come in, that if you can do all these well, it affects top line revenue, or if you do them all well, it affects bottom line revenue? I mean, what's the reason for it? What connects them all?
Look, the biggest prize down the road eventually is going to be impact on loss ratio, right? And so we're not in these programs as a standalone, revenue generating opportunity. Each one of them, we always try to basically make sure that the return on investment is funding the actual operation. So, that we can actually invest more in these types of programs. Eventually, obviously, the goal is going to be around loss ratio, but there are a lot of it's not going to take a minute to prove that point and to get that benefit. In the meantime, there are a lot of other benefits that you get from it, right? Like, I can already tell you that our renewal rates with folks that have installed the smart home program are better than our renewal rates with folks that have not.
I believe that.
I can tell you that, their engagement, their NPS scores, a bunch of things, right? They're just higher. And so there are a lot of side benefits. We're not going to, it's going to take a while, right, to get to that end goal price. It's not a simple thing, right? You need a lot of data. You need a lot of customers on these programs. You need a lot of time. Until you get there, there are a lot of side benefits to reap in the meantime. And there are a lot of paths. I mean, I think I mentioned to you that initially you want to prove that you are going to send out a kit and people are actually going to install it. That took us about a year. You then want to start impacting, not only do they install it, but maybe they're also installing it in the places that you as an insurer prefer. So if I know that it's more impactful for us if you're installing a water leak device next to your laundry machine, that might be worth more to us than somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, placement is another thing that we're focused on right now. And so you got to go step by step, I guess is my point.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, Dhruv, why don't you talk a little bit about what it is that Kangaroo's doing that's different out there? I mean, why are people using your product just like Rob, right? He was able to get it up on the wall, the sensors. He was able to get maybe even the doorbell. He was able to get it up quickly. He was looking forward to it. I mean, what are you doing that's different than some of the other competitors out there?
Yeah, good question. I mean, when we started, our core focus was how do you bring this technology and security to people that need it the most? The market that existed at that point in 2017, 2018 was squarely in the top 15 to 16 to 20% of the country that could either afford extremely expensive systems. You're talking an investment initially of anywhere from $600 to $800 or upwards of $1,000 when you add in the install, or they were using technology that was outdated and continuing to provide legacy services that they have been for decades. So if we needed to meaningfully bring this to everyone, to mass market, we needed to accomplish two core things. One, we needed to bring the cost dramatically down, so not incrementally 10 to 15%. We needed it to be 5 to 10x cheaper than it is today, both the cost of the devices as well as the cost of the services. The second thing was these products were completely inaccessible. Either you only had two options. You either had two guys in a van kind of showing up on a Tuesday afternoon when you have to be at work to install this for 4 hours, or you looked at the smart home as this complex thing that you needed your niece or your nephew, or your daughter to come help you with because you had no idea where to start. Right? Most people don't know what firmware is or where to find their Wi-Fi password or all of the or what Bluetooth pairing might mean. These are terms that or most people actually don't know what a wire nut or a breaker box or a screwdriver is. And so we wanted to eliminate all of that and bring it down to something very simple. You want security, you should be up and running with it in less than 2 minutes, right? So there were plenty of small decisions that went in. I mean, it was a few years of engineering where we had to redo the stack from the ground up. So the hardware, firmware, software, cloud architecture, all of that. We had to rebuild. We couldn't use off-the-shelf modules because they limit your flexibility. So we had to take all of that away, build that all in-house, starting from scratch. And the output of that, the delivery of the ultimate product was something that you could peel and stick, use AA batteries. And I think I've mentioned this before is, most people have two kinds of batteries in their kitchen drawer. It's either batteries or little batteries, right? And the batteries are AA batteries. And so we've always, when we actually set out to do this, we said, how can we meaningfully impact 1 billion lives? And that meant that we couldn't be isolated to just being in the US. The US is the tip of the iceberg. How eventually are we going to go international and go into markets, again, that needed security the most? Southeast Asia, India, South America. And you needed to have something that worked with a user's Wi-Fi as Wi-Fi gets more stable and gets more penetration globally and works on simple AA batteries, but also lasts as long as those devices would last on, lithium-ion batteries and such. So we poured a lot of energy, one into the hardware devices, and of course, data security and privacy on the back end, and then a tremendous amount of energy into the user experience. It's you won't believe it's little things like the copy, the simple words that you use in the app to perform an action. All of that is tested and over and over again, and hopefully the output is that Rob was able to use it. So
yeah, and it worked.
And it worked.
Well, why don't you tell me exactly what is this partnership, this strategic alliance? What exactly, is this you're announcing?
Sure. So we have a smart home rewards program, which basically means that as part of our policy, we offer our customers a smart home kit or a smart home package. As you know, in the US, you have to go state by state and basically file for this to be part of your insurance product. And so every one of our customers today is offered what we're calling a self-monitored kit we have a very high opt-in rate into the program and a very high install rate. I think I mentioned to you, I think today it's around 70% install rate. Kangaroo is a provider for that self-monitored kit. So like it's provided to the customer basically as a complimentary product when they purchase a Hippo policy. And as long as they install it, they maintain a pretty meaningful discount, right? It's maybe 5 to 8% varying on the state of their premium. In addition to that, everybody could get that, basic self-monitored program. As I mentioned, very high opt-in rates and install rates into the program. In addition, the customers can also choose to add a professionally monitored component for this exact package. For that, for a relatively low fee, they get professional monitoring. They also get an additional discount on their insurance. So if it is professionally monitored, that goes to a higher tier of discount. And that is what is being offered to customers.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Very exciting.
Dhruv, are you using the partnership with Hippo in any of your marketing as well?
Yeah, we are. We absolutely are. Hippo it's just a fantastic brand to be associated with, and we're always very excited to work with them. I think this partnership dates back a couple of years now when we initially kicked off a pilot, and then grown from there. And we continue to actually expand, not just with this program that we have in place, but continue to explore various different things that we can do as we launch new products, as Hippo further develops into different states and different areas. There's a lot of stuff under the hood that we continue to do. And as we bring more and more customers on from other segments, it's such a strong synergy, both in terms of brand and in terms of value, that we reach out to our customers and help them learn about Hippo and their offerings, and port them over to Hippo as well to see if they'd be interested in working with Hippo and getting a policy there.
It goes both ways, right? I mean, so essentially, if you've already invested in a smart home, why not actually see if it provides you a benefit on your home insurance, right? And so we have this program where if Dhruv's customers have already installed the Kangaroo products, they can then easily find out whether they might also be able to save on their home insurance because, again, we're able to apply that more meaningful discount.
If you think about it, the ultimate goal is the same thing. It's to provide peace of mind to the end customer, right? And so whether that is to have more devices around the home that they're able to monitor their home better, or to have a policy that's actually significantly more efficient than the ones that they might have, whether that's in terms of cost or in terms of coverage, particularly when the two companies are working together so closely and have complementary products and services, it just makes a ton of sense to introduce them both to a customer, wherever they're acquired.
Yuval, Hippo has gotten a lot of traction in the market. You guys are talked about a lot, certainly in the world of insurance and InsureTech. The Hippo name has become prominent. And we're in a world where there's lots of choices in the smart home area. There's many, many companies and providers that are putting out interesting products, not just Kangaroo. How do you settle on Kangaroo among all the options that you have out there?
So I think you're right in the sense that there's a lot of choice, but actually when you drill down to it, there's not a lot of choice in specifically what we're looking for, because not a lot of great choices, I should say. Remember that
Sure.
Remember that there's two components here. One is the insurer provider is actually subsidizing the initial program, right? And so we have to go out en masse. I mean, I think we shipped last year over 400,000 sensors, right? Like that's a large number, right? And so we're essentially subsidizing the program because of all the great benefits that I mentioned to you. I mean, it definitely provides us with benefits, but it needs to come at a price point that makes sense. I'll say that as kind of one point. The second point is, again, remember that most of the products out there, when you think about smart home or when people talk about smart home, right? Like it's either they're security focused or you tell your Alexa device that you would like to listen to music. That's great. And it's very engaging and it's very important. However, there are other components that an insurance company cares about. We care a lot about water. We care a lot about smoke and fire. It has to come at a price point where we're comfortable sending out these hundreds of thousands of devices. And so, Kangaroo's product is such that enable us to achieve both of those aspects. And I don't think that is a trivial thing. And I don't know that the market is still there. Let me give you an example. I mean, there is a product that we love, right? It's called a water shutoff device. A water shutoff device sits on the main water line. It can monitor your home. There's like really good devices out there. We would love to go out and put that in scale in front of our customers, right? Problem is that this is a $500 device today, at least. And then there's a $300 installation. I can always go out and market this as an upsell type of product, or like if you're interested, but people are still at the point where they're not that familiar with these types of products. And if I go and do that, maybe I hit 5% of our customer base, and we're still at the point where we're trying to drive adoption at mass. And so the types of products that Kangaroo has, the types of products Kangaroo is thinking about are very fitting to the types of things we're looking to do.
They help you move the needle, not like installing a water shutoff valve in 2% of your PIF.
That is correct. And by the way, we are in the process of, we have a pretty significant channel with new builds. In new builds, that story becomes a little bit easier, right? Because the plumber is already there. The cost of installation is essentially zero. And so there, the economics might make a little bit more sense. And I don't know if you've seen an announcement from Lennar recently, which is one of our important partners, but they're starting to install water shutoff devices in every one of the new homes, starting, I think they actually started in October. And so that's going to be a benefit. And we would love to take those types of products to a broader audience. It just needs the economics to work. I think what Dhruv and Kangaroo are doing are making it possible for the insurance company to make that leap of faith and to actually go broad to the entire customer base.
It's interesting, like you were saying about automobiles, that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they had few sensors. Now they have many, many, many. And brand new cars today, it's just remarkable. But homes, you can't change them like you can change a car. They have to be retrofittable, right?
That's right.
I mean, you have to be able to come in and put things into an existing old house, like, for example, the one I live in that's almost 90 years old, which we are starting to slowly do. But to your point, it's expensive and not easy. But new homes are really exciting. What's going to happen in new homes and the amount of sensors, I can only imagine. And the impact it'll have, the subsequent impact it'll have on the kind of underwriting that you'll be able to do on a fully censored home. I mean, I haven't even really considered that, but I'm sure that's something you guys are thinking about.
Yeah, so with existing homes, I'll just mention one point. It's both about the cost as well as what are the sensors actually doing? Again, there's a function of safety and there's a function of entertainment. But there's also like a super important function of water as an example. Well, people don't really, that's not their top priority, right? Like they don't think that something is going to happen to them if there's a flood in the basement. It's just not something that is top of mind. For us as an insurance company, it is top of mind. And so, what Dhruv is doing with the ease of installation of these things, with the price point that they're coming in, is allowing the insurance company to push this product out to broad scale until people realize, oh, this is actually beneficial. New homes is different. New homes, you actually have an opportunity, right, to influence how they're being built. If you have close partnerships in the space, the cost of the smart home package as a total function of the cost of the home is minuscule. The installation becomes a non-issue.
Right.
You can work together, right, to come up with the right business model, et cetera, et cetera. You're completely right. It's just these are two different paths.
Well, we really appreciate you guys coming on today and sharing with us some of the thinking behind this. It's clear to me that this is truly a partnership that's good for the goose and good for the gander. And it's really exciting that for both of your companies that you continue to march towards your goals that we've been hearing about for a while and fulfilling them. And we can't thank you enough for coming.
Yeah, thank y'all so much.
Thank you guys for having us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Lee.
I just love the way that Hippo is approaching the insurance market, the home insurance market. So refreshing, so exciting, so intelligent. makes perfect sense to me.
It's funny. I read a lot about Hippo online, and it's always exciting. There's always so much excitement going on there. And to talk to the leadership team of Hippo, it is exciting. I mean, they're so thoughtful in what they're doing. They have these long-term plans, and they're integrating different aspects in. They know what they're doing, and it's a great time just watching it. And to partner with a company like Kangaroo, who is as innovative as they are, I think it's wonderful.
Terrific. And we're really grateful to Yuval and Dhruv for being with us today and sharing their insights and their reasoning. And we thank you for being with us on this special edition of FNO News. And join us next time.
Goodbye, everybody.